Good afternoon. Welcome to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone, and excited to be back with you on this Friday. This show, I'm really excited about it. I think I teased it in our last show about having the founder of the M1 TV network on the show today. I'm so excited because Dr. Ivory Taylor has, it was his brainchild working with a couple of friends, and one, Eddie Jones, who we miss terribly. We're going to talk about how M1 started and where we are today. It was their vision, and we're just trying to keep it moving forward. So glad to have him on the show today. We're going to check in with him. And then Dr. Noel Hutchinson is also going to be on the show. You know, his program was Black Thought, and I still think he's doing something, but I think it's on YouTube, but he's going to share with us what he has going on now. But these are my guys. They're the ones that brought me in to the network, and so just excited to talk about how it's grown and how we're getting it back on track after 3 years of being down with COVID. So, Dr. Ivory Taylor, welcome back to Dialogue with Deidre.
Appreciate it.
I mean, I missed you.
I miss you guys too. Trust me, I do.
So let's talk about what was the impetus of starting MUTV?
Well, several things. We need a black voice to tell our story, because what happened, Ed, he was very instrumental and said, if we don't tell our story, the next person is going to tell our story with a twist to benefit them. And so many times as we look at history and we look at where we come from and where we're trying to go, people want to tell us what to do. Mm-hmm. And we thought that in some form and fashion, we need to take charge of our own destiny and kind of shape it the way we want it to be shaped. And Ed had his vision about the internet. It wasn't so much the way it is now.
Right.
And Ed said, the future will be this way and that way. Because we first got started, the word podcast, there wasn't a word like that. I asked Ed, what's the difference? He said,
podcast,
he said, one is shortest, one is that we change the names.
Right.
So I said, oh, okay. And Ed said, let's tell our story with the next invention, which will be the internet and not stay-home television. He said, what's going to happen, stay-home television would be on the phone. Mm-hmm. Well, keep in mind, during that time, I had my phone was outdated.
We remember your phone.
I remember. I still have it.
You still have was it the flip?
Flip. Yeah. I still have it. And so what happened, all that data and data couldn't get in that phone. And one of the reasons I changed because of Ed, also because I couldn't fly.
Right.
Because they stopped giving paper tickets and they put the on your phone. And I said, man, well, but Ed saw the vision changing. Mm-hmm. And so what happened is, how can we be in front of the change?
Right.
Because guess what? It's rolling now.
It is.
And so that's how we got started.
Well, I was telling in my last show, I was talking about how he was such a visionary.
He really was, seriously.
I mean, I remember my eyebrow went up, Doc, when he talked about let's move to Facebook and YouTube. And I kept thinking, well, why would we want to do that? Everybody's doing it now. Yeah. Everybody. He was such a visionary.
I enjoyed our arguments, you know me.
I know you did. You all did.
Chris would say, tell your husband it's time to go home now, you know what I mean? And George said, are you guys going to spend the night with each other, you know what I mean? So I learned so much from him. But he was able to see, I think, and one of the things he really wanted to do was let us tell our own story.
Right. And that's what we're doing. And we want to continue that, especially now in this environment, Doc Taylor, where you have state legislators that want to, not even state legislators, but the whole, Republicans at the national level wanting to ban books and curriculums around our story, trying to reduce our voices, specifically around history.
Very true. Very, very true. And one of the things that, and I know, if I start believing in myself, I really start believing in myself, it's hard for you to stop me then.
And you're dangerous.
Because I know that I'm somebody. But as long as I'm who you want me to be, I'm bound by, according to your standard. Right. But when I start saying I can do that, and I can do that, and I can do that, you can't stop me there. But
I was listening to a young lady a couple of weeks ago who was talking about how masterful their messaging is. She was at a school board meeting where they were talking about banning books around African American literature, around slavery, and a white female at the school board meeting made the comment, well, we don't want your children to feel bad about slavery. Would you want them to read Huckleberry Finn? I mean, that's going to make them feel bad. So books like that should be banned because we don't want your children to feel bad. Oh, okay. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yes,
so that narrative is something that's out there. And for us, it's about, no, it's history.
Yes.
And so all of our children, be it white, black, brown, they need to understand that slavery existed. Yes. Black folks built this country.
Oh, yes.
And the role that they played in it.
We didn't get paid.
We didn't get paid. But it looks like somebody's asking for reparations in Shelby County now. And so what does that look like? And so we have to do a better job of telling our story since it's been banned.
Very true. But what I love about what we're doing with technology, the average now, not all, the average student has a phone.
Right.
The average student, okay. So that means that now our story can be placed in front of them.
Right.
Even though it may not be in that classroom, but I can be on their phone now. Because the average young person sleep with their phone. So all I need to do is find a way to be in their presence. So I can shape my story now. We can shape our story now. Whether it's good or bad, indifference, but we can shape it. And we can tell the young ladies and young men that you're somebody.
You are somebody.
You're someone special. And the more they hear that, because to be honest with you, this is better for us.
Right.
Because I have your attention because you're always scrolling.
Yeah, so I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, you're absolutely right with Google.
Oh, yes.
And all these browsers, all they have to do is put in slavery,
that's right.
Black history, and it's there for them to read. But for those, we still have that digital divide too.
Sure. Well, yes, we do.
But
yes, we do.
But somebody has to point them in that direction too, though. If the teachers can't talk about it in the classroom, how do we point them in that direction?
Well, I think that we as entrepreneurs, and this is one thing that we do at Taylor Brown, donate money to people who are moving where we should go and where we want to be.
Yeah.
And so that means that we would donate money to community groups that would do what there's a need to do. Right. Where before Taylor Brown, we donated to individuals and stuff. And I've learned a lot. Donate to that person's who kind of got it together a little bit. They got the 501c3. They don't did that little slave, not slave, the grunt, all that grunt work.
Right.
So you're saying you've been vetted.
Right.
And now we want to give you some tokens to continue to move, where you're going. And that they can help us a lot with that story.
Okay, that's wonderful.
The story.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in Dr. Hutchinson and continue talking about
Sounds good.
What's going on when it comes to, I want him to tell his M1 TV story too.
Black Thought.
Yeah, Black Thought, because, we were really competitive. You and I were not competitive since you were a founder. But Doc Hutchinson and I were really competitive in terms of our guests.
Yeah, I was talking about, I got this many likes. I'm just glad to be liked. You know what I mean? What about this right here? You know what I mean? I said, okay, guys.
Right. So he's here, and we're gonna have that conversation with him as Dialogue with Deidre continues. Welcome back to Dialogue with Deidre. Again, I told you that I was so excited about this show. I have Dr. Ivory Taylor here with me, one of the founders of the M1 TV network. We talked a little bit about the history, but like my main competitor on the network, Dr. Noel Hutchinson is in the house too. So this is like family, all right? Oh. I mean, we talk about how many likes the shows had, his show versus my show, who the guests were.
In time.
Why
to give her 5 minutes more than me.
Right. Doc, welcome back to Dialogue with Deidre.
For those who are watching, this is called In-House Hateration 101. I have an opening to my show. She hates. She gets some folk to doctor her stuff up, patch it together. Then I go back in the lab and change stuff up. Even write my own music. Yeah, I'm putting down.
Oh, he writes his own music.
Yeah. I'm putting. Anyway, that's not why we're here. But I love both of these persons, and I'm so glad and honored to be here. Hey, when I heard that they were going to do this, I told them I was going to wear my tuxedo, but see, it don't fit anymore, so I had to just wear a suit.
Wait a minute. You know. But what did I tell you? It needs to be tails. If you're going to come up in here with a tuxedo on.
It doesn't fit, so I had to leave it. But look, that's the esteem I have seriously for both of these two fine individuals. So I'm just glad to be here with y'all.
Oh, we're so glad to have you, right, Doc?
Yes, but we did talk about Black thought, but we can't get the other, take my cap off or put my cap on with the thing. Oh, we missed that portion.
We do.
Put your mind in gear.
Yeah, right. Because our mind has not been in gear.
You got to put your mind in gear.
Right.
Put your thinking
cap on.
Yeah.
So, Doc, tell us about, remember, and just take us down memory lane on when you got involved with M1.
Well, it was one of those strange situations. I guess it was serendipity, if you want to put it that way. I think I was voting, and I was coming out of the main location downtown, and this crazy old man hollered out and said, I need to talk to you about something. And can I talk to you? I looked at him. I said, he don't look dangerous. I said, okay. And make a long story short, Dr. Ivory Taylor, that's who it was, talked to me about coming to the network. Matter of fact, he had an open house where he had about 20 or so people there. And I was one of the persons. I didn't come on initially. I think I came on a month later. And working with him and Eddie was wonderful. And you should have heard some of the conversations we had after the shows, because it was like iron sharpening iron, Generally, I'm meddling now, and of course, those who are no longer here can't defend themselves. But a lot of times, it was Eddie and I against Doc, then it'd switch up, and we get in the conversations. We would really wrestle with the subject matter that was presented. Let me say this: I didn't name my show. Dr. Taylor named it because he said, "What about Black Thought?" I liked it. I liked it, and I ran with it.
Did a good job, too.
Well, thank you.
Good job.
We had some interesting guests. I always tried to take different angles because there's no prevailing Black thought. We're not a monolithic people.
Right.
But I wanted to present different angles that you didn't hear all of the time.
Very true.
When we had certain races, whether it be Tennessee Senate races, local races, tried to get the candidates in so we could hear their perspectives. And we were one of the few places, if only places, that did that for the community. We did some remotes.
Yes.
She's a state senator now.
Yeah, that's right. Ramon Hackberry, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Ramesh,
She got started first, though.
Yeah.
She did?
Yes.
I did not know
we
that.
We had like 13 candidates, remember?
Yeah, and it influenced the election because people were able to see the candidates. It was her, Kim before, a bunch of them.
She's blown up. She's national now.
But at that time, she was just another name among many.
Yeah.
I mean, Biden, the President Biden, I mean, she has access. She's very influential now.
And Doc really, you went your way for her, though, seriously. I hope she remember, because you went to a precinct and did did a show there.
Yeah, we did a remote right at, I think it was the, oh gosh, memory is leaving me, the community center where people vote in
sure did.
Glenview Community Center.
Okay.
Make sure that you talk to people as they came in for her. I remember.
And so we had a lot going on. Plus, when you look at activism in our city, many of the activists got their start in front of the camera here. You know, we had Earl Fisher come through here all the time. We had Wendy Thomas come through here. We had Andre Johnson come through here. Matter of fact, I had a table full of pastors come through here. And even some of the younger ones we had come through here, and we brokered relationships with them. So
that's him just talking about who was on his show.
Well, yeah,
so
it was on Blank
we
Thought.
had attorney Ben Crump come on Dialogue with Deidre.
Well, first of all, that was a dual thing. Because I actually was on the show with him. So I just have to help you with that.
Well, because I invited you. Because I invited you.
It never fails, right? It never fails.
And then we had the mayor, at least two mayors, right? Mayor Wharton, Mayor Strickland.
Well, they were scared of me.
Oh, they weren't scared of me?
No. They
come on. Really?
Look, I've had people, and I won't name them, would say to me, I can't come on your show because you're going to ask me questions I can't answer. And I don't think I was.
I was really nice then, right?
No, not that you were nice. You were smooth with yours. See, I just come out and ask them. I just come out and ask them, why haven't you? You know, so, I mean, we haven't had a show with Wanda Halbert and some other person. I know Wanda Halbert's in the news now. Yeah. We're not talking about that iteration of Wanda Halbert. I'm talking about back when we were dealing with gentrification and taxes and et cetera.
Right.
And it was her and Rashawn Alston came through and really opened that whole, the TIF piece and, and all of that. So, you know, and let me throw this in. I did have Eric Jerome Dickey on my show. So since we going there.
Yeah, we going there. We going there. We going there. Yeah, and I was real Jay about that. Real Jay. Yes.
Well, actually, let me say this, y'all. That was really pre-Deidre having the show. Behind the scenes, she helped a lot in us, you may not know this, in getting some of those guests. Because by then I had known her and I was talking to her about what we were doing. And so I kind of was a conduit to connect you up to the station.
You were.
So I can't sit here and pretend that all of the fire was because of just me. She helped me some, you know. But then when I got here and started blowing up and, you know, stuff started connecting, you know, the hateration. We're going to stop playing. All right, go ahead.
You kind of made her run for office, didn't you?
I won't go that far. I won't go that far. But I supported her.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes,
she was nice then.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was nice.
Oh, okay. So Doc was at one of the forums, and he's reminded me that I should have been a little bit tougher. But I was smooth with it, Doc.
She was smooth.
I let him know, dude, you talking out of both sides of your mouth, smooth, right? And he had to acknowledge that he did.
But she had her game, but no, he didn't.
See, that must be the Bronx and the South Memphis. I just shank you. She had that little nice, you know, scalpel.
Cut him up.
So
cut him up now.
You don't feel it till 2 o'clock in the morning when your finger falls off and said, I've been cut. No, but all right, y'all. Forgive me.
This has been wonderful. So Doc, what have you been up to?
Well, a lot of things happening. Pastoring a new church, Kingdom Fellowship in Fraser. Also, I have a YouTube channel, Conversations with Hutch. We've interviewed a couple of people. We've interviewed Milton Bigham. If you look at gospel from, let's say, 1970 to about 2000, he was instrumental in a lot of people. He discovered Kurt Franklin. He discovered Donnie McClurkin. He was involved with the preacher's wife, with Whitney Houston. So we had him on. You know, we had Lester Bibbs on from here in Memphis. We re-showed what we did with Eric Jerome Dickey. I had some of the activists to come on. So we have a varying amount of guests on that platform. So I'm looking at starting a podcast, you know, to kind of open up some things in some areas. This one will be faith-based because there are questions that people have, in terms of faith, in terms of Christianity. One of the most burning questions people have is, how can I be a Christian and be black? And where does social justice fall in when you start talking about Christianity? So I'm going to open some of that up. And then we have also church hurt. People been hurt by the church.
Yeah.
People been hurt by pastors. Pastors been hurt. Others have been hurt. So how do you deal and unpack all of that and make it relatable? So I'm going to deal with some of that. So that's just a tiny niche of what I've done. You know, I'm still written for various pieces for our Daily Bread for their Black History Month meditations.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm staying busy.
And
That's why I have all this gray hair. I didn't have this gray hair when I was on M1.
we're not going to talk about gray hair. And Doc, talk about what Taylor Brown's doing now.
I mean, we're excited.
Yeah.
I came from the dead, so Pastor, I understand that thing, that voice that our ancestors used to say. And they said, "How you feeling?" And they'll say, "I thank God for one more day."
Yes.
I understand it.
Yes.
Yeah, either they'll say, "I thank God for a well made up mind." I be saying, "Well, what other man you gonna have?" But guess what? I understand that now. I really do. But we're excited. We're April 1. We are launching Taylor Brown on a digital platform, Taylor Brown Apothecary, and we have 18 items on there. And Joy's going to launch her facial line.
Good.
And so are we excited about it? I mean, we really, when I say really, I know really is a bad word, but we really excited about it. So we're going to look at branding. We're not for the masses now.
Right.
Okay, this is all about branding Taylor Brown, and we're our audience are people who are investing in their health. Who invest in their health, and those are the people that we'll be trying to reach.
Okay, and telling that Taylor Brown story.
Yeah, tell our story.
Yeah, that's important.
Going back how we got started.
Yeah.
Let's tell our story. Because if we don't now, someone is going to tell it.
Somebody else,
God,
and that's what Eddie used to say too, right?
So we would tell the Taylor Brown story coming from brick and mortar.
Okay.
Now to a digital platform, a true apothecary. We're not a drugstore. We are an apothecary. We deal with herbs and herbs only, not those type of herbs, but herbs.
Not that kind of herbs.
Yeah. Not the puff pass.
You know, because if we for real, all medicine come from a plant.
Right.
Okay. But what happened is we go back in history that to make money, right, we had to go to a crystal medicine. It works faster. I get you hooked on it. You don't want to bear any pain.
Right.
So it works good. Where a plant, it's going to take a little time for it to get into the system. But then again, it's more healthy because it's better on your kidney.
Right.
Yeah. But because of economics, right, I make more money by putting in a crystal medicine in you. Mm-hmm. And the side effect would be to mess up your kidney. Then I give you another medicine for your kidney, and that side effect would be mess up your liver. So now you one for your heart, one for your liver, and one for your kidneys. So that means I'm making money.
Right.
Yeah. And then you need another one for all three of them. So that's 4 medicines.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
So then again, I want you to live a long time, and I want you to die forever. And neither do I want you to get well either. Okay.
It's a balance.
You're right. Yeah. So our goal is to go into that field there, and as we look back, that was our goal the first time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But we got out there and got caught up, and that can happen to any business. And this is one thing about I keep bringing Ed up. Ed always told me we got to stay focused.
Right.
Because he said people will always put things in your ear.
Right.
He said, but the problem that we have is something called patience and time.
Right.
If we can, he always said, we can understand patience and time, we'll make it.
But sometimes, Doc, don't you think it just takes us a minute to get there? Like Deidre Malone group will be 20 in May.
Yeah.
Wow.
20 in May.
Wow.
And just thinking about the first 5 years, the That was tough, but we made it. That next 5 years, we were at 10. I think probably year 7, I was like, why am I doing this? I can go back and work for somebody. But I pushed on through, right? And then 15, I said, okay, well, I need to just go ahead and play this thing out. So now looking at year 20, which is months away, last year was one of our most successful years. We won. It's that patience. It's taking time. It's learning from your mistakes that you know, when you started in business. And we won this big national award last year from the U.S. Department of Commerce. The Deidre Malone Group is the Midweek Communications and Marketing Firm of the Year. You know, out of all the marketing and PR firms of color in this country, we won. So it just takes patience.
Yeah.
You know?
And again, looking at your area, and I know that my military piece comes out because I try to stay in God. I don't like that.
Yeah.
When you try to help people as you move forward, it's like the ones you help are the ones who try to tear you down.
Yeah.
And they complain over pennies.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And then you say, wait a minute. When I make it, you make it, because I'm going to make sure I throw my crumbs back there.
Exactly.
I make sure I'm going to put my hand back there. We're going to pass this baton because you guys were giving $1,500 for people to start their own business.
I know our little grant.
You see what I'm saying?
Watching how your cookie crumbles. Absolutely.
One of the things I'm most grateful for is the way that both of you helped to nurture me. All jokes aside, especially with this station. You know, you invested, and, you know, even though I'm on what you would call a hiatus from M1, hiatus is temporary.
Right, because you're family.
Because we're family, and I appreciate what you did. And every day, Dr. Taylor, I appreciate what you did. Every day, Deidre, you know you're a hater. I had to get that in.
I love it.
I appreciate what you did. So that needs to be said. Let me just throw this in real quick. I'm also the mission director of the Progressive National Baptist Convention. So I wasn't that when I was here. But
The president one time, wasn't you?
no, I was the president of the local body.
That's
The
right.
Tennessee Progressive Baptist Council.
Right.
But I'm over the national body in terms of missions. But I want to tie in to what you said about support. Because Eddie Jones, we were ahead of our time.
Yes, we were.
He talked about apps because he and I got into it once. It wasn't an argument, but I asked him some questions. He started talking to me about apps and how they're going to be the next thing and how et cetera, et cetera. And now I do all streaming at the house. I cut my cable box, and what he saw is now here.
Yes.
I don't think he saw AI and some of the other developments to the point where starting something like this from a monetary perspective is much easier
Very much.
because you have more tools. But the support from the community, folk want everything for free.
Yes.
People don't support. And so even I watched something that Roland Martin did with his Black Star Network, which is ingenious, which is really where Eddie was getting us to go in terms of what Roland Martin has done. He said that we don't even get the advertising money we're supposed to get from other entities, even though we may have the eyeballs. Because I know when we started out, we were looking at about 150,000 people watching this station every day.
That's right.
And we were only on Comcast
That's
and
it.
had some streaming, limited streaming, but people watching from all over the country and really all over the world, and had a good base here in Memphis. But because it was black and it was the first black, some people were skeptical. I'll even go so far as to say this. You know, we have Black Restaurant Week here in the city. Cynthia Daniels has done a great job, but she said, and some others have said, that they could have had more businesses involved in the first year, but they didn't want to be identified as black.
That's sad.
But when you think about it, there is a grocer that used to be downtown. And when people found out he was black, he basically got blackballed out of business.
Right.
So we have a provincial landscape here in Memphis. We have a lot of stuff beginning to burgeon up in Memphis. But we got to be more supportive of each other and what we're doing. And I don't think we fully get that or understand that. Because in order to make it, it's good to be, you know, an activist about several causes. But we're kind of at the place where we have to start putting some money and making our money and shoring up our community. And I'm going to be finished on this. Less than 1% of the business receipts in Shelby County is generated by black business. And we make up 54% of the county and 65% of the city. Now, I don't know about y'all. Something's wrong with that.
Well,
it's very true, but as we said earlier, I think that it's how the story was told.
Yeah.
If the story is always told that your Kool-Aid is better than my Kool-Aid, then guess what? I'm going to start believing that story. But I think that if we turn the story and said, my Kool-Aid is better because I use this, and this right here, I think that narrative would change.
Well, let's change it this way. Black folk are the ones that have been making the Kool-Aid all along.
Very true, but we don't say that. We come once a month and say we created the vacuum machine, and we create.
We got to do that all throughout the year.
Everyday
thing.
And this is why the phone we said earlier. Now I can put that story on that phone and says these are some of our achievers,
right?
And these are some of our whatever. These are some of the new things that's coming out. Here's a strong career over here, and that. It needs help in, you know, like AI or either, especially healthcare.
Oh my goodness!
There is so much out there in healthcare that our young minds can invent. In healthcare, it's wide open.
I agree.
But what happened is a lot of time in healthcare, we focus on the nurse, which thank God for them, right? But the nurse used tools. Those tools can be invented by our young folks. But we have to set up that type of community environment to do that.
Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to have y'all come back.
I know.
Okay.
and finish this conversation. Because we're at our 30 minutes. But, yeah, Doc, I'm not doing an hour yet. I'm only doing 30 minutes. Don't be Jay. So we're at our 30 minutes, and this has been a fabulous show.
This is where Black Thought comes in.
Black Thought comes in,
the dialogue,
and Dialogue with Deidre comes in, and you know, before we close out, I do want to say, Doc Taylor, thank you for your vision. Thank you for starting this. Thank you for bringing us to the table and letting us be a part of telling the African American story through your vision. And today we pay tribute to Eddie.
Oh yes.
Who was a visionary before his time. And everybody's doing now what Eddie talked about when we were looking at Eddie like, really, Eddie? Everybody's doing it now.
That's true.
So we pay tribute to him today. Any final thoughts as we wrap up?
I'm glad to be here. I really mean it. I am really glad to be here.
I'll just say ditto before I get caught up in excessive verbosity. Ditto.
Well, y'all, thank you so much for coming back and joining us for Dialogue with Deidre. We'll see you next Friday, and I've so enjoyed this show. Let us hear from you. We want to know if you enjoyed this show as well, and we're definitely going to have Doc Taylor and Doc Hutchinson come back and spend some time with us on their network. Have a great day.